In the heart of the Islamic tradition, there is a doctrine called isma, the belief that a prophet is divinely protected from error, and especially from the influence of the devil. But what if the earliest records of Islam tell a different story? What if the prophet of Islam once stood before the idols of Mecca and preached for the other side? This is the investigation of the Gharaniq Incident, better known to the world as the Satanic Verses. It is a story so explosive, so damaging to the concept of monotheism that modern scholars have spent centuries trying to bury it. But the earliest historians of Islam didn't bury it. They recorded it as fact. Did Satan trick the messenger of God? Or was it a calculated political move that went wrong? Fakir fil amr. Think about it. To understand why this happened, we have to look at the year 615 AD. Muhammad was in Mecca, and he was losing. His followers were being persecuted, and the powerful Quraish tribes had placed a brutal boycott on his clan. They were hungry, isolated, and desperate. Muhammad wasn't just a spiritual leader, he was a man under immense social and psychological pressure. According to the historian Al-Tabari, Muhammad had a deep hirs, intense desire to find a way to reconcile with his people. He wanted the suffering to end. He wanted the Quraysh to accept him. In this moment of weakness, the line between divine revelation and political compromise began to blur. One day, Muhammad walked to the Kaaba, where the leaders of the Quraysh were gathered. He began to recite what we now know as Surah an-najm. He reached the verses mentioning the three most powerful pagan goddesses of the Arabs, al-lat, al-uzza, and manat. Traditionally, he would have condemned them, but that day, something else came out of his mouth. According to Ibn Ishaq and Al-Waqidi, he recited these words: Tilka al-Gharaniq al-ula, wa inna shafa'atahunna la turtaja. These are the high-flying cranes, exalted ones, and their intercession is to be hoped for. The Quraysh were stunned. Muhammad had just validated their idols. He had granted the pagan goddesses a place in his religion as intercessors to God. The effect was instantaneous. For the first time in years, the tension snapped. When Muhammad reached the end of the chapter and prostrated, the pagan Quraysh prostrated right alongside him. Mecca was in celebration. The war was over. The compromise had worked. News even traveled to the Muslims who had fled to Abyssinia, telling them to return home because the Quraysh had finally converted. But this wasn't a conversion to Islam. It was a merger. Muhammad had effectively created a pagan Islamic hybrid to save his followers from the boycott. The peace lasted only a short time. According to the sources, the angel Jibril, descended and rebuked Muhammad, asking, "What have you done? You recited to the people that which I did not bring you from Allah." Muhammad's excuse was startling. He claimed that Satan had thrown those words onto his tongue. He claimed he was so focused on reconciliation that he couldn't distinguish between the voice of God and the voice of the devil. To fix the damage, a new revelation was produced, Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 52, which conveniently claimed that every messenger before him had also had Satan interfere with their revelations. It was the ultimate get-out-of-jail-free card. But here is the investigative question. If a prophet cannot tell the difference between Gabriel and Satan, how can any follower trust any verse in the Quran? If the Satanic Verses could slip through, what else made it in? Was it really the devil? Or was it just a man who broke under pressure and tried to use God to fix a political problem, only to backtrack when his core followers realized he had committed shirk, polytheism? The early records say he said it. The excuse says Satan did it. I wonder. Fakir fil amr. Think about it.